let's transition into that. So you are like, I can't even this is my thing because I love what you do, just because from when I was young, I was going to go to art school.
Oh, really?
I was all set up to go to Kendall Art School in Grand Rapids, and
That would've been awesome.
it was going to be my thing. I loved it. And I chickened out. I was young and I just chickened out.
Yeah.
So like when you started doing that stuff, I'm still blown away by the stuff that you do. So you've got a business called Devil's Rope Studio.
Correct. Yeah.
And is it mainly just like a steel kind of, or I mean, primarily everything that you've done is barbed wire.
Yeah. Well, I put barbed wire in everything that I do.
Okay.
But some of it is, flat steel. I mean, it's just cold rolled steel that I cut and do some stuff. So I do a combination. But primarily my stuff, a high percentage of my stuff is wire. So wire of one type of or another, either barbed wire or 9-gauge wire, 16-gauge wire, 12.5 gauge wire that I'll blend or weld together, grind down. I mean, all the different types of techniques that I've, not necessarily that I've kind of developed my own style, in which that's what all artists do. They have their own little style that they do. But I love using wire to use to make the different things that I make. Pretty much wildlife. Well, I do a lot of domestic stuff too. I'll do dogs, and I got to do a cat. I haven't. I've tried it a couple times with this guy that I got to get a cat done, and I've got to get that done. But anyways, I've done dogs and wolves and buffalo and elk but a lot of white-tailed deer.
Where did all of this come from?
I don't
what prompted this?
It's funny, when Dan and Sam were, in grade school. I mean, when I say grade school, when you do show and tell.
Yeah.
They were going to do show and tell, and one night, I don't know why, I grabbed a couple coat hangers out of the closet. Yeah. And I took a pair of pliers and I started bending up, and I made a white-tailed deer. I still have that deer is 30-some years old. Still have it to this day. It was just a white-tailed deer. The proportions aren't great, but I made this white-tailed deer. Yeah, deer have always been a passion of mine.
Of course.
My whole life, everything I've done has been oriented around white-tailed deer.
Right.
They're just the greatest animals on the face of the earth that God made. That I feel like He made him especially for me. I mean, that's how much I love them. I kill them, but I love them.
Yeah.
There's one of those things you got to manage
respect.
Them. They got it right, but there's definitely a respect for them.
Yeah.
And anyhow, so I just twisted up some wire and made this deer. They took him to show and tell, and then I made a moose, which I don't have that one anymore. I don't know whatever happened to that, but I had a moose, and they would take these every year for a couple, 2-3 years to show and tell type of thing. And I always, when I did that, I always thought to myself, it'd be kind of cool to make a deer head for the end of the driveway above my mailbox type of thing. But I knew that I wasn't going to take several hundred
coat hangers.
Coat hangers. Back when they used to make good coat hangers.
Wire coat hangers.
I mean, it was like they were tough.
They were stout. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyhow, we ended up selling our home there behind the stockyards here in Clare, and we bought some property out on Leeton Road. Mm-hmm. It was a 40-acre piece. Was mostly woods. Nice log house. Beautiful place. And I was walking that property. One of the first times I ever walked it. And remember how every farm had a farm dump? Oh yeah. On the back they'd have their old hog feeders and that kind of stuff. Well, they had a bunch of this big old rolled up wire. Yeah. I mean, like hundreds of yards, hundreds of miles of it, just all piled up there. And the second I saw it, I thought, now that would make a cool deer head to make it out of that. And so I went out there with my tractor with the forks. I forked up,
picked it all up.
Didn't all of it, but just picked up a good stuff. And this place that we bought had 3 barns on it, Okay. So as everybody knows, the more barns you have, the more things you can just throw into it. So I just took it and I threw it on the cement floor of one of the barns that we didn't use, and it laid there for probably 2 years. Until Dan was graduating high school, and we decided we're going to have the open house, and we're going to have it in that barn. So I had to clean the barn out. Sure. So, I'm thinking, man, this winter I'm going to make that deer head. So I put it in the other shop, That winter, I made a deer head, and I just wrapped it up and made it kind of look like a deer head. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing, and so I took it to the art teacher in Clare, Kim Kleinhardt at the time, and went to her house actually, and I showed her that, and I said, "What do you think? What something like that would be worth?" And she probably didn't appreciate the fact I was thinking of money instead of the
art part of it. Sure,
but still, I just was kind of curious.
Yeah.
What would someone, she said, I'd say $500 to $800. And she said, once if you did stuff and you got known for it, you probably get a couple $1,000 or better for that stuff. And it wasn't like, okay, now I'm motivated to do it. It was just like, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
Somebody would want something like that.
Well, yeah, because I never seen somebody doing that stuff in barbed wire.
So another guy saw what I did, and he said, "Could you do an elk head?" I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm sure I could." So I did an elk head, and that was Larry Kleinhardt. It's still on the side of his barn, and so I did a elk head. And then somebody else saw the elk head, and they said, "Can you do me an elk head?" And it just kind of, just
word of mouth kept morphing,
and so then I thought, I wonder if I could do a art show, like a 3-day show somewhere. And they had one in Novi that was it was the way they promoted it was pretty exclusive. You had to be picked to go to it and that kind of stuff. I found that that's more through the years I mean, there is some art things that are very exclusive, but this definitely wasn't one of them. But it was still, they were good people, and they had it went on for several years. So I took, I had some chickens, and I had a goose that I did, and a deer head. So I had like 5-6 items. I took it there, and I mean, people were around my booth and wanted to sold the goose for $800. I had an elk there, and a lady.
And these are all life size. For the most part, this is all like true to size. Yeah.
Right. At that time, I did all life size. I mean, full size.
Full size. Yeah. Like size of an elk, size of a normal goose.
Yeah, and so I think I had like $5,000 on the elk that I had, a full-size elk there, and the guy had another artist come up and said, "Man, you got that pretty cheap." I said, "I'd be happier than heck to sell that for $5,000." He says, "Yeah, you got to understand, that some of these art, people that collect art, they want to pay the higher dollar because they want to know." I mean, it's just generalized, but they want to know that not everybody could buy that. They want to have something
exclusive.
So I've taken some of that. Anyways, I think it was pretty decent advice, but I still I don't price myself so really high. But anyhow, so I did that. So then I started doing some bigger competitions. And I did really well in some competitions. And so then I ended up doing Art Prize down in Grand Rapids. The first year I did Art Prize, I took second in Art Prize. And that's 1,400 artists. And I took 2 big draft horses, and I put a whole set of harnesses on them. And I had a little foal running behind them. And we did a nice presentation. We built it all up, and it would had some flowers and some other stuff. We did it up nice. And took second that year.
All barbed wire.
All barbed wire, every bit. And that was all reclaimed barbed wire. That was off of somebody's fence somewhere. And then I did it the next year, and I took second again. I couldn't ever win the darn thing, but I did really well. And so then I started doing some what they call art loan programs out west. When you go through a lot of cities, you've probably seen it, and you go through Montana, Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
You go through these towns, and they got sculptures all up and down their road. Well, that's what they call art loan program, where they will put a call out to artists. They apply. They pay them a stipend. Usually, it's $500 to $1,500.
Okay.
And the artists will break. If they pick their piece, they'll take it. You take your piece there, and it sets on their streets for a year.
Okay.
And then if someone buys it, then
great.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So we have one here in Clare that we started, 4 years ago. And so a sculpture walk. And so I started doing that, and I was selling everything. So I've got permanent sculptures in Evergreen, 2 of them in Evergreen, Colorado. I got on the entrance to St. Joe, Missouri, a big horse on the entrance of their town. I've got in North Glen, Colorado, I have a big bison there, and then I got commissioned to do a train station. I have 7 running horses, and then those 2 draft horses that I made for the art prize. They bought both of those draft horses with the full set of at the bus entrance to this train station, and that was probably $100,000 project that I did there.
That's crazy,
with these running horses and all out of barbed wire. Now with the public stuff, even though the draft horses were definitely all barbed wire, they maybe come through and nip a lot of the barbs off.
Sure.
But like the horses, I did them with barbed wire, but then I finished with a barbless wire.
Yep.
So you can see the barbed wire in there, but it's not
exposed, so to speak.
Put your hand over, you're not going to cut yourself on it. And it's just evolved. So it went from being kind of a little something I did on the side.
Yeah. Not even thinking really much about it. Other than like, this is pretty cool.
I had no intent of this being a full-time job.
Yeah.
And today I've been over 10 years doing this, and I'm commissioned out. For the last 3 years, I've been commissioned out almost a year in advance.
No kidding.
That I just can't get caught up, and so, which is a good thing. I mean, it's a good and bad thing. It's a bad thing from the standpoint that there's certain things I would really like to make. Like, I'd like to do a big lion, big heavy mane lion. Yeah. I'd like to do a longhorn. But I've not been commissioned to do those.
Right.
So I can't do those because people are paying me money.
You still have to do the ones you're getting paid for.
Right. It's a business.
Right.
Even though I really enjoy it, it's a business. You got customers you got to take care of, and I make them wait long enough, and I don't make them wait on purpose, but I tell them when they get commissioned, I say, we're probably 6, 8, 10 months out.
Yeah, because it's not like you're going to whip something like that out in a weekend.
That, and as I tell people, you get a successful business. What do? You get a successful business. Well, you hire more employees.
Right.
I can't do that. I can't, because they want my stuff. And I'm only one person. I only have so many. I work a lot of times. I work 8 to 10 hours a day. But that's I can't hire it out.
That's not a manufactured type business.
Yeah, it's not a pun. I mean, it's all hand done.
Right.
My tools is needle nose pliers and a pair of leather gloves. That's the only thing I use. And
so you got low overhead.
Yeah, you do. I mean, we never got into what I did, but before that, when I left and started my own business, I rep product through ag, through the ag channels.
Okay.
And I had like hand warmers, I had quite a few different products that I would rep through the ag channels. And then eventually I found that I could buy what's called Yetter 71 Flex planters, which were the old John Deere 71s. And I designed a toolbar and a ATV poled 2-row. And so I started selling implements. And then I ended up, I was at Jay's Sporting Goods one day, and I thought, man, it would be kind of cool to have a cultipacker as part of my repertoire. Yeah. And I was in the parking lot, and I got out of my truck, and I looked in the back of this guy's truck, and it was and I was thinking, I didn't want to get a cast iron,
Sure.
I think I was thinking about like road culverts and turn them into that, that kind of stuff. And I get out of my truck and looked at the truck that I just parked next to, and in that truck was a poly color packer, 4-foot color packer. So I sat in my truck and waited for this guy to come out. He came out of the store, and his name was Bruce Barton. He owned a rotomold shop in Howell, Michigan. And I said, where did you do that? He said, I made that myself. He says, I made the mold and everything. Are you selling them? He says, nah. Right. He says, I just made it for myself. And he says, I sell some on eBay, that type of thing. He called them the Poly Packer at that time. And I says, man, I'm looking for that, something like that. Can we sit down and talk? So, I ended up getting an appointment, went down to Howell. We wrote up a contractual agreement. I had the exclusivity on that product. Okay. And I renamed it the Best Outdoors Packer Max. Yep. And I sold tons of those until I got into this art. That's why I stepped back and tell the rest of the story, because this art got to be so prolific, and I just didn't have time. Right. The thing about equipment in most businesses is what you said. It's high overhead, low margin. Yeah. Well, I mean, I made good money on the color packers, but I had to redo my inventory. Right. So your cash was always sitting on a shelf. Right. waiting for the next sale.
Waiting
that it
for
was
somebody
nice
to
to get
sell.
the sale, but then you'd have to replace that.
Right.
And it was like one of these games. I just got so tired of that. And then here I was making my art that people, that I had very little overhead in. My overhead is my time.
Sure.
Really,
Yeah.
And so, so I was really enjoying doing the artwork. And so I knew, Lincoln Roan, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had the Facebook group of Let 'em Go, Let 'em Grow.
Yep.
And I was a member. So I got a hold of him. I says, hey, Lincoln, I'd like to advertise that I want to sell my business. And I don't know if it would be appropriate. I don't want you to be mad at me, Yeah. He says, well, what do you got? And so I told him what I had. He goes, oh, man, I might be interested in that.
Okay.
So we sat down and talked and ended up working out a deal on it. And he bought that business from me. And I made really good money off of it from the standpoint is he just went to town selling the darn things way more than I ever did. And I didn't sell the business for a lot of money, but I kept a royalty on it for several years.
Yep.
And that royalty really did well because he sold so many.
He sells a ton of them.
Yeah, and Lincoln's he's an awesome guy, and so he's got a good following, and he's he's a Christian guy. He's there's a lot of things that he's like me, fairly outspoken on deer-oriented issues.
Sure.
I'm not quite as much as I used to be, but I can feel his passion. So I relate to Lincoln really well, and I was just so happy that someone took that product and took it to the next level because it's a great product.
I've used one. They're awesome.
Yeah, it's a great product, and I just needed someone that wanted to put their. I just got to the point where I just was tired of doing. I used to do the ATA show. And traveling and going.
It's a grind.
Down. Oh, it is. It's just you just get tired of it.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, "Oh, that'd be so fun to do that." Well, you do about 70 of those. The old Deer Spectacular or the Iowa Deer Classic, and you start
takes the
doing
fun out of all of it.
You get tired of just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And I mean, it was cool. I mean, I met a lot of celebrity. Went out to dinner with a lot of different celebrity.
Sure.
Michael Waddell. Dave Barton. I mean, all those guys are not Barton, but with Realtree.
David Blanton. Yep.
And in those, I mean, not that they would know me, but I went to dinner with them because I was in. And I also repped for a couple of years. I repped the Tecumate.
Yep.
So David Morris, and so I was his northern rep for the United States. And then when he sold that, I ended up going with Biologic and worked with Bobby Cole out of Mississippi, and so I was in
that circle.
But back in the day, that was cool. But it's still, it's cool. It's awesome. On the other side, it's still dealing with issues with people and products and issues and so this is so much better because you go to do a trade show and do a booth. You're always trying to figure out how to get someone into your booth.
Yeah.
When I do artwork and did a booth, people want to come into your booth, and so it's just so much nicer because I don't have to set out there. Hey,
you don't have to throw the sales pitch to them. You
don't have to do any of that.
The sculptors sell themselves.
Yeah. Do you put in food plots? Oh,
Let me show you something.
Yeah, let me show you something you have to have. And where I don't have to say a thing. I'm doing I don't do so many of those shows anymore. But when I did, I mean, when I was down doing Art Prize, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people, and just they want to come in and talk to you, and they, I was giving them I was signing cards and stuff. I mean, can I get your autograph? What the heck do you want my autograph?
It's super unique.
Yeah.
It's super unique. I mean, and like, I don't know anybody that's done it.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I saw it, I immediately started like researching it, and I'm just like, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not an easy thing to work with, but like anything, you get used to working with it.
Sure.
People always want to see my hands, or they want to see if I got any scars.
Yeah.
Which I've had plenty, but it's like anything, you get respect for what you work with, and you know how to use it, and so it's been fun. I mean, so I've gone from, and I still do full-size animals.
Yep.
But I do a lot of what I call tabletop stuff now, which I'm doing small, deer, elk, and bison,
coffee table type stuff.
And that stuff sells so good.
Sure.
And I got repeat clients on those that constantly are saying, okay, I want 6 more, I want 10 more, or whatever. And they're not cheap, but they like them.
Everything is a one-off.
Yeah. So right, and there's not one that's the same as the other. Even if I try to do them the same, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's why you can charge a nice price for them, because it's not manufactured.
Yeah, no,
it's all
no press.
one person doing one thing.
Yeah, that's what people will say. Well, do you have a mold? No, I don't have a mold. Do you have something you wrap the wire? No, I don't.
No.
So how do you do it? Well, I look at a picture and I look at the picture and I do it by hand. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And and it's not. I can't say that it's difficult, because it's coming something that's somewhat natural.
Right.
But also, it's come natural, but on the other side, I've gotten better.
Sure. You refine the technique,
Matter of fact, I have 50 some odd kids coming tomorrow from Claire schools, Harrison School in Farwell.
That's awesome.
They're coming to just with their art teachers, and they're coming just to ask me questions and stuff. And that's what I like to tell them is that the artwork. What's more valuable? I have a bucket that I save for this type of a demonstration that has a bunch of grinding. When I grind the metal, my metal grinds and pieces of chunks of metal and like that stuff. And I have it there. I says, what's more valuable? What's in here, or maybe have a eagle sculpture or something.
Sure.
So what's more valuable? Of course, they're going to say, that eagle sculpture.
Yeah.
I said, yes, and I pour it out and I say, but if it wasn't for this, you wouldn't have that. And I said, it's just like an athlete. An athlete, someone will say, that athlete, just got natural talent. Well, he may have he or her may have some natural talent, God-given talent, but he
has
developed
to be molded and shaped.
When he was molding that stuff, what did they have to do? Well, they have to go out and they have to run. They have to, they have to work at it. You don't see that during the game. You don't see the fact that they put all that sweat and sweat equity into their ability to be able to perform. It's the same way with the artwork.
The general public just see the end result. They don't see what goes into it.
But I think most people, majority of people would say, looking at an athlete, is they appreciate that natural ability, and they also appreciate the fact that they've honed that natural ability to the point where they're, like a Michael Jordan, you're just, you're like amazed
the
at
best in your biz,
or Kobe Bryant, they just talk about what he would do to, he would take it to that next degree, and so there's appreciation for somebody's form of art, and I always say that's, they're athlete, that's a form of art. People will say, well, I have no artistic ability, and I say, no, that's not true. There's something about you that you perfect, that you're better at, that you do. My brother's a real estate person, and he's very good at it. Because he's got the gift of host, of hospitality. He's perfected something that was natural, but he's taken to that next level. And I tell people all the time that no, there's something that you have. There's a talent that you have. And you can take that right into bow hunting or deer hunting in general. You got the guys like John Eberhardt that can walk into a property the first time and look at a piece of property, not even on X, not even Google Maps. Walk in and say, okay, this is going to go. And he puts up in a tree and shoots a 180. I feel like I can do some of that, not to the level of John, but you have that ability. Jason Phillips has that ability. Jason kind of falls into it, sometimes. But you say
that's a whole other story.
But when I say falls in it, that I say that jokingly because I have a guy that used to, one of my dealers, he would always say, well, man, you can fall off a turnip truck and kill the 160, or you always shoot a big buck. You always shoot. You could go to Iowa, Illinois, any state, and you're going to shoot. You know what? And he would always say, you're the luckiest guy I ever know. Well, there's definitely, in deer hunting, there's definitely an aspect of luck into it. But also, I feel like I can go into a place and logically figure out where the highest percentage of chances may be, and I'll hone it as I go. But at least I can put myself in a new place fairly quickly.
Right.
Do it, and not to the status of what a John Eberhart can do. But and I put John on a pretty high pedestal.
Sure.
Because John's done it in Michigan,
and
taken his Michigan ability and taken it out of state, where I have a hard time believing a lot of these, and I no disrespect to them, but a lot of these hunters in other states that made the name for themselves come to Michigan and
I don't think it would be the same.
thing. So but anyways, it's that's that perfection and that ability to take it to the next level. I just have that natural ability, and I've honed that ability over. And I still look at other people's art, and I'm going, man, there's so much better than me on that stuff. And I'm thinking, but this is my style. This is how I do it. And I am into realism. I am into figurative art. I really enjoy that. I'm not into the abstract-y type stuff, but there's a lot of people that do it that I really appreciate what they do.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think it's awesome that what you're doing, like I said, it's extremely unique. It takes a special eye to create and mimic an animal, but mimic it in a way that you're mimicking it with metal. Yeah. It's one thing to have like sheet metal and to mold it like that, but you're doing it with, you're just doing it with wire and to be able to make it look so real, as far as like proportion and stuff like that with your deer, and like when you do like I think some of the draft horses, like their mane and everything coming off and stuff. I mean, it's really, really realistic, and I mean, I think that's what draws people in. Is just they just like, I can't believe that you can do this and make it look so real just out of wire. Yeah. So I mean, that's
cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I just like, I eat that stuff up. I've always been kind of that guy, and I mean, ever since you started, I was just like, oh, everything you've done has been really, really super cool.
I get teased by my good buddies because I'm not the stereotypical artist. I'm an artist, and I've had to temper. I was at a show one time in Novi, and this lady came up to me, and I had a wire deer head on the wall, and she goes, she was another vendor there, really attractive. Older lady, but very attractive, and she had a cool style about her.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I just engaged and talked to her, and we were really having a good conversation. And she looks up at the deer. She goes, "Well, at least that's not a real one." And I said, I said, that's. I got 12, or no, I think at the time I said I got eight real ones on the wall at my home. And she went from being this nice lady to really
super standoffish.
No, she tore into me. She tore in like, I can't believe you're blah, 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 blah. She got into it. And I was trying to, be nice to her.
Diffuse it.
And finally I said, that hunters, do you understand that hunters contribute more to habitat and conservation of animals
the betterment
than any other organization in the world?
Yeah.
No. I said yes, more than Greenpeace, more than
PETA,
whatever, you name it. You know, and I says, because a portion of every sale of every shotgun shell, every arrow, the percentage of that goes into a fund, and I think it's was it Robinson Peterson Act
something
or
like that.
Peterson Robinson Act. I always get those turned around, but I told her that, and I says, you need to go look that up, because I was nice to her, and I never was mean to her, but I started giving it back to her, thinking, well, you need to understand some things. It's not if you don't manage the deer, they're going to be dying on their own and not be dying in a nice way that you're going to enjoy the way they die, And so I've ever since then, I'm very careful on how I make people understand that I not only appreciate them, but I'm a hunter, And I mean, I'm not gonna back down from it, but I don't want to be getting a confrontation with somebody at a show over it.
Well, I think being a hunter and being somebody who loves nature and loves every part of it and just loves animal in general, I think that's what makes your stuff so realistic, is because you have a passion for that sort of side of it. It's not just you're just taking a picture and looking at it. No, granted, you're using pictures, but just creating that realism
Yeah.
of that love of nature.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. I think that goes hand in hand with it.
Yeah.
And I feel very, very blessed, very fortunate to do what I do. I'm 64 years old. I'm basically, I feel like I've been retired ever since I started my art. Because what else am I gonna do? I walk out of my house, I walk into my studio, and I'm in there. I got my podcast going.
Right.
I got a TV in there, so I can. I never watch it, but I can listen to it. But I have certain podcasts that I listen to, and I just enjoy, or have books on tape, and I listen to them because I'm in there 10 or 12 hours a day. And so I really, really enjoy it. I like being by myself. I'm a loner to that degree.
Sure.
I always I always say I know it's kind of weird saying it, but like the old Cinderella, she's my own little corner, my own little chair.
Yeah.
That's what I like, that little secluded area. Do my own thing. I hate being interrupted when I'm out in the shop. First, one reason, because I always get scared half to death because I'm so intense in what I'm doing. Someone comes out, hey, every time. My wife says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, why do you do that? She says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just need to say something to you. So now what she does, she comes out, she scuffs her feet. She's coming out. Okay, I don't get scared at scuffing feet, but if you walk right out there, hey, whoa.
Oh man,
so,
that's funny. So yeah, so do you have a shop, or do you have, you don't have like a storefront, so to speak?
No, I just have my studio, and I typically, now tomorrow with these kids coming in, unfortunately I'm making 2 eagles for the Veterans Freedom Memorial Park there in Harrison. Beautiful little park that they have there, and I feel very honored that they chose me to do. So they wanted to do 2 eagles facing each other with their wings down, kind of, as you walk in there, that they're going to be on 2 pillars as you walk in. And so I have one done, and I'm about a quarter away done on the second one.
Okay.
And so, but why I mention that is because I have people call me up, hey, I'd like to come and see your studio, which I have no problem. Anybody can come in at any time if give me a call. When I said I don't like to be interrupted, I don't like to be interrupted by family when I'm in there working.
Sure.
But anyhow, and I'm not mean to my family either. But anyhow, But if someone wants to come, they can come. But I don't always have something there. I always am working on something.
Right.
But it's not like I have a display. Right. It's not like I'm taking it into my trophy room where I can show them 12 mounts.
Right. Yeah.
It's
anything you make is going out the door to somebody.
It's already purchased before I make it.
Right.
So as soon as it's done,
it's not like a supply of stuff.
Some have been waiting over a year, so they want it as soon as I get it done.
Yeah.
So, but anybody can, if they give me a call. And the reason why it's called Devil's Rope Studio, I always like to tell people this, is because the old timers used to call barbed wire Devil's Rope. And so that when I was told that one time, I did a research, to find if I could grab that name.
Right.
And there was a Devil's Rope Studio, I think it was Texas, but it was a recording studio that had gone belly up.
Okay.
But I ended up getting a hold of the guy. Somehow, way, shape, or form, ended up getting a hold of the guy, and he said, "Yeah, you can have it." So I've got it, I don't know, trademarked. I don't know what you call it, copyrighted, whatever.
Yeah,
but anyways, I officially. But that's why it's called Devil's Rope Studio.
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic name.
Yeah, it is. It's just a cool name.
Yeah, it is a
as soon as my buddy that was helping me at a show one time said, "Well, they used to call barbed wire Devil's Rope." I said,
"Yep.
Wow, there's a cool name, man." Right after that, I'm going, I gotta get that name.
Super catchy. Yeah. So where could a person see your stuff?
Well, I have permanent sculptures in probably 10 different states.
Okay.
Right now, and probably over 100 permanent sculptures out in different parts of the United States. But locally, there's a big draft horse that I have at Tobacco Ranch as you're going out of town. The engineer, I do some human forms too. I did a big, like a train conductor engineer, if we will, in front of the old depot in Clare. I did the leprechaun that's in front of City Hall. So those are some. In Art Alley, I have some geese that I did there. So I have some local pieces, and then you can go. I'm getting a new website done. Hopefully, I have that done next week. But that will be updated but they can go to Devil's Rope Studio Facebook page and scroll back.
Yeah.
And the only reason I have Facebook is just to have a business page, because I can put that stuff on there, and I can put the verbiage in.
Yep.
With the website, I've just always struggled with people running my website that I send them stuff and they never get it on there.
Yeah.
And so this new website is going to have all updated stuff on it, but then they're going to give me the access on how I can put the stuff on there. So I could do it just like I do Facebook. And so that one will be updated like the Facebook page was. The nice thing about a website is, of course, you have a gallery, and you can just go through the gallery. Where Facebook, you got to scroll. But I'm not I'm not media savvy. I'm not computer savvy.
Sure.
I talk to computers, and I usually don't use very good words when I'm talking to them because they frustrate me. But I like what they do, but they just don't. They don't really particularly care for me.
I think probably the Facebook page. I mean, pretty much everybody has. I mean, for the most part, a lot of people have Facebook. That'd
Devil's
probably
Rope
be a good
Studio Facebook page. Or my daughter does put stuff on Instagram that's basically just duplicates what I put on Facebook. So, but I really don't do Instagram. I don't even know how to do Instagram. So, but
it's just Facebook with a different name.
That, I mean, I don't do any of the other. I mean, I just don't understand that stuff. I like I say, I can do a lot of stuff. You want me to build something, I can build it. If I want me to, to do plumbing, electrical, build a house, help build a house, I can do all that stuff. You come to computers, you come to technology stuff. I am so bad at it. I mean, if I download an app, it's a miracle if it works for me, because I just don't understand that stuff, and so it's just so I don't do a lot of that stuff. But I don't really need to at this point promote myself anymore. I do because I can't keep up with
what you got,
and I'm not bragging. That's the way it is. Right? It's just the way it is. So
and that's okay.
But
that's okay. You don't have to promote it because, like you said, it promotes itself.
And then part of the reason I get behind is because I usually take pretty much October, November off.
Wow. I mean,
I get sick or something. I just gotta.
Hey, boss, I'm not coming in for the next 2 months.
So I say, you work for yourself. I still hate my boss, but but it's fun, coming that time of year that I can, I still work, but it's definitely a lot slower during that time. But because I gotta be in a tree. I just gotta be. I just love it.
It's what drives it. It's what drives it.
I can do it. I mean, this year, during from October 1st through the 20th of November, I was in a tree every day. I mean, not all day, obviously, but I was either in the morning or night. I usually early season I got to do either morning or night. And I usually do night because morning, I think you can do more to mess up deer in the mornings in October than you do in the night. But part of that reason is I got to work sometime.
Right.
And if you if you hunt in the morning, so you hunt at daybreak to 10 o'clock, before the time changes, and then you go back, and by the time you get back, get cleaned up, and get back out to work, then you get 2 hours in, and then you want to head out to the tree by 3 o'clock, if not 2 o'clock, And so I always say I got to pick one or the other until the rut. And then the rut, I'm out there, and I'm out
doing
there all
day
long.
I feel you.
So,
I feel you. I really apprate you coming on. The stories were great. Like I always said, if the conversation's good, we're just going to keep on talking.
Yeah, well, good.
So
I'm glad you allowed me to go on, but I enjoy telling the stories because they, like you said in your house, like you said in here in your man cave down here, the deer are nice to be hanging on the wall, but when you look at each deer, you're saying, "Oh, I remember that story."
Yeah, the stories live on forever.
Of what happened and what went on, and when we had a house fire, not to keep on going here, but we had a house fire. We moved into the house that we are in now in 2014, and in 2015 it burnt down. And I had drugged my feet. We had sold our house, and I didn't have a place to put my deer heads. I had eight mounts at that time, and so Jeff Poet said, "Well, just bring them down to the store, and we'll hang them up." And we where you go into the bathrooms there. We had them all hung up there. They looked really cool there. And anyhow, so we did that. I did that, and so we bought the house, and I think we moved in September or something like that. And then I was redoing the upstairs, and I had a rag, a linseed oil soaked rag that spontaneously combusted during an afternoon, caught our house on fire and burned it dead to the ground. But this house had a beautiful addition on it. Had knotty pine like this, but all the way up, and it was beautiful. Perfect place to put all of your mounts. And I drug my feet. Every time I go by Jay's, I need to go in there and grab them off the wall, and I just didn't do it. And I was so glad I procrastinated. So I'm standing there in the front yard. It was like it was an Amish date night, because I had every Amish in the community standing there watching my house burn down, And one of the neighbors came up, put his hand on my shoulder. He says, "You didn't lose all your deer mounts, did you?" And I'm going, all of a sudden I'm going, well, here's the silver lining. No, I didn't, because I procrastinated, and I did not take my mounts from Jay's and bring them back to my house. And so I didn't lose any of my mounts.
That's awesome.
So, I lost all my guns. I lost a lot of sheds that I had found through the years. Right. But I didn't lose any of my mounts.
Yeah,
so
well, thankful for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you, sir, for coming over.
It was fun.
We'll have to do it again, maybe come deer season.
Yeah. I always got a story. There's many that I didn't tell you.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. We'll make it set it up for a part 2, maybe.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you guys for listening. And this is the Mic'd Up Outdoor Podcast. Have a great evening.